Your scouts report something of interest nearby and mark it on your maps. Your scouts spot a very unusual landmark in the distance, a statue made entirely out of silver. It is likely that some danger may lurk there, as no one has looted it yet, but it is a lot of silver up for the taking.
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
You go down to the fields to check if any crops survived this night, and you discover a large molehill on your way. A peculiar-looking mole carrying a small shovel pops up from the hill and exclaims, "Ahoy!" It seems really happy about something. The mole does not respond. It just stares at you, especially at your clothes for some reason. The creature disappears into the molehill. As you travel along the plains, you feel the air growing colder. Frost appears on plants and you can see your breath. You see a small group of hooded travelers approaching. The group comes closer and stops. One of the hooded figures steps up, but you see a young girl standing proudly behind him. You hear her speak. "Who are these peasants? Why do they stand in my way? Make them disappear now." The girl turns and walks off a few meters, as if waiting her command to be carried out. The hooded man lets out a long sigh and speaks to you. "Her Majesty, Princess Susanna, wishes you to clear the way." He then whispers, "Better just go before she takes any real notice of you." The hooded man winces, or at least it feels as if he did. But clearly the girl was not listening to you, so he continues speaking in a low voice. "Listen, you seem like good folks. You remind me of times before the darkness and before our fate. But you must understand, she is mad, always has been, infernal child, doomed for eternity for her pride and cruelty." Her Royal Highness Susanna really was a princess and an only precious child to our royals. As such, she was spoilt rotten, but worse yet, people say she's been a changeling from the start. Learned men and wizards from all over came to test the child, and they all felt that her little heart was naught but an icy hole. But our royal couple refused to listen, believed that true love will cure her and make her human in the end. For a time, it seemed like it was true. But then, Susanna grew older, and with every passing year, her cute tantrums became more cruel and intentional. She had servants whipped for looking at her wrong, page boys locked in birdhouses so they could grow wings for her amusement. You get the picture. True enough, she was a brat and her parents allowed it, because they thought they must give her only love, no discipline. In truth, perhaps this was the tragedy of the prophecies. The royals were so scared of their changeling child, and they made her the way she was. As I said, as a child, Susanna was spoilt and unruly, and as she grew, this turned to cruelty beyond mere folly. It was when she tortured and killed her nanny for failing to braid her hair right. All knew the child was evil. Yet her parents wanted to prove their love could conquer all. They ordered princes to come from all around, in hopes of their daughter finding true love. All she found were more victims. She played with two brothers, both smitten with her beauty. She asked them to bring her a fabled set of royal pearls residing in a mythical icy tower. When they failed, she drowned one of them. The other brother, a skilled wizard, thus cursed the princess, never to find peace or forgiveness for her cruelty. She had changed him into a black swan, then killed and served him for supper. On the dinner table, the swan spoke. Your kingdom will crumble, your power diminish, your heart remain ice forever. And you will seek your cursed pearls for eternity and never find them. All who sat at the table with the princess, her royal guards sworn never to leave her side, were cursed that night and turned to unliving wraiths. The royal couple had a miracle child that year, and the princess, now cursed, could no longer be heir to the throne. She was banished, and so were we. But the little wretch grew even madder than before. Her desire for the blasted royal pearls and the icy tower became an absolute obsession. She started saying great power awaits her in the tower, and that she will rule a kingdom once more. Bound to her for eternity, we have served her thusly, seeking the tower and its treasure to no avail. The guard was about to answer, but Susanna cut him off.
I am bored now. I have graciously indulged your wagging tongue, servant, as it amuses me to allow you to think yourself knowledgeable, but my patience is growing thin. Luck has it that I am in need of peasants, and since you are stubborn enough to deny my rite of passage, perhaps you will be of use. I detect a note of defiance in your voice, and I detest defiant peasants.
She stomps her feet and frowns.
You will do as I ask. Foolish simpletons, I am offering you wealth and power. Think what you will, but since my birth I have heard the calling of the tower, and I am finally close. Mere days away from my tower, but I may need the assistance of mortals to achieve my task. Do what you will. Here is a map. Come join me in the icy tower and gain wealth beyond measure. Or don't, and stay, peasants. It matters not to me. We are going now.
She gestures to her guards, and they start moving away. You see a man in worn-out armor with insignia unknown to these lands. He is standing by a rock, clearly deep in thought, as he does not see you approach. When you look closer, you see he is looking at a sword half embedded in the rock. The man jumps up, startled by your voice. He grabs the hilt of his sword, but does not draw it. He takes a few steps back and speaks. How dare you disturb a king's moment of peace? I'm sorry, old habits. I am no king, not anymore. But you, my friends, look like, well, potentially, you could maybe be called knights, right? My name is Arathor. I have traveled here from afar in the west, led by an ancient quest from my forefathers. I was led to believe that this sword will help me rebuild my kingdom and save us from the darkness. Alas, I have lost all of my knights just getting here. And now that I am faced with the sword, those blasted demons, they have cursed me with weakness, and I am unable to fulfill my destiny. The sword is my test, my burden, and my fate. It will not serve any other. My time is running out. I must return to my kingdom soon, or all shall be lost. Now, the sword is for me to claim, but as king, I can appoint you my knights, and you could claim it in my stead. The magic binding the weapon in stone will permit it, I think. Will you become my knights? Knights? Oh, well, a knight is a brave warrior, sworn to serve their king and god, to uphold the law. It is a man. Sorry, well, I suppose in my kingdom we only appoint men, but desperate times. So, it is a person who is righteous and honorable. Now, I solemnly swear I will release you from my service once the deed I ask is done, and I hold the sword in my hand. Will you accept? Wonderful. I knew fate would provide my salvation. I did not know if your hearts were pure enough, but your agreement to serve my purpose, with no promise of a reward, proves that you are indeed the ones I seek. Now, by the power of a rightfully anointed King of Camroth, I pronounce you Knights of Camroth, and I command you to take the sword for me. You work together and pull out the sword from the stone. It looks like an ordinary weapon, except that it seems undamaged from its unusual sheath. When you hold it in your hands, however, you feel a surge of strange power coursing through your veins, and it feels really good. The king drops down on one knee as he accepts the sword from you. He speaks, and his voice becomes more forceful and clear than before. Well done, my knights. You have passed the test of loyalty and purity of soul, for this sword is known to lead its keepers astray. An ancient bloodline runs in my veins, one that has, in the past, both failed and succeeded in this very test. It has always been my fate to hold this blade and see what I am made of. And since I do not heed the urge to cleave you where you stand, I am hopeful that I too have passed. I release you from your oaths, Knights of Camroth. May the fates bring you strength and prosperity. I also give you this map. It will lead you to a bridge where you will be tasked with a test, and if you pass, a treasure will reveal itself to you. I meant to find it myself, but it seems fate had other plans. So go forth and seek it out. I will now travel back to my lands, and using the sword, I will try to reclaim my kingdom and restore the Eternal Tower to ward off the darkness. I wish I could tell you more, but it seems other lands are in peril, and it is a knight's duty to protect and defend. Alas, I am also a king, and I must first right the wrongs of my own people. I feel a great destiny within you, and I hope you will succeed in your own quest one day. Farewell. The king bows to you and holds up the sword. A light shines down from the skies, and he disappears. The sun is particularly strong today, and without any cover, your party is feeling the effects. After all, people are not used to this much sunshine anymore. burns your skin. You feel weakened, and you dream of the night sky for the first time. Some of your companions feel very sick, and one drops down from exhaustion. Don't always have a chance to heal, and so death can claim its prize. You enter an underground complex that turns out to be some old, long-forgotten dungeon. You're not sure what used to be the purpose of these dungeons, but they seem large. Inside, there are two main tunnels leading deeper into the complex. You take the right turn and go down a wide corridor with many doors on both sides. You try one of the chambers, and you see it must have been some old jail, but there are many open cells with iron bars. You enter an underground. Inside, there are two main tunnels. You take a left and go down a long, winding corridor with empty alcoves spread about in equal spaces, each alcove hiding a potential doorway to explore. You enter one such opening, and you arrive at a small, empty chamber. You were about to leave when a ghost stands in your way. I am Zarazar. Please don't go yet. My spirit has been trapped here for decades. I cannot leave here, you see, because everywhere I go, I find disease and death with me. But I do not want to do this. No, wait. In this chamber and only here, I do not spread the filthy plague unless I touch someone. This is why I have left decades. Please help me. All you have to do is to willingly let me touch you. I know this is asking much, but if you win with the disease, as I think you will, I will reward you, I swear. Once you have healed, I will no longer bear my curse of Zarazar. I was a dollar once, a friendly demon helping people. If you help, I will bless your entire party. You will be healthier for a time, but if you fail, one of you may fall ill. have beaten the sickness. The Zarada changes before your very eyes, and from a ghostly wraith, she takes on the form of a healthy young woman. Thank you. Here is my blessing as promised. If you ever come back here, you may find my sisters. Do try to help them too. Now I must go. She then changes into a black cat and runs through the walls.
You stumble across some ruins of an old city, engulfed in mist and mystery. You search the abandoned abodes and open some old dusty cellar. As the heavy doors crack, you are swarmed by some crazed bats.
You search the buildings and discover a supplies store still intact. You stumble across some ruins of it. You search the buildings and discover a supplies store still intact. You find the remains of an old town, built in solid stone, with a large central building that even in its crumbled and rotting state looks very impressive. Like many such places, you feel the cold draft of the ever-present dark mist lurking in every corner. You see a faint light coming from one of the towers in the central building, and you know this is where you must go. You enter the old building, and soon realize it must have been a place of great knowledge, as even in the entrance hall, there are vast shelves with remnants of books on them. Indeed, as you go in deeper, you find a rusted shield with the words, "The pen is mightier than the sword, and the sword of knowledge defeats any foe." Before you make another step, you are met by a hooded stranger. "Welcome to the Grand University of Cracovia. How may I be of assistance?" he chimes, as if nothing was awry in the world. "Ah, yes. You must be referring to Professor Common from the Human Advances Department. He's been listed as being on a sabbatical in an old tower for almost a century now. Or perhaps you speak of his esteemed colleague, Professor Hufker? He too likes towers, although he has been reprimanded for using illegal magic, you know. You may want to go up and speak to the board if your interest lies in either professor's field." "Excellent. You must be from another foreign delegation then. I've been told there might be latecomers. The board meeting is on the 3rd floor, in the Thorn Rose room." You look towards the stairway, and you see it is crumbled and full of cracks, but it should be fine to climb. You go upstairs and find many more empty, eerie rooms, filled with rotten bookshelves and destroyed books, laboratories with smashed equipment, and lecture rooms with decaying tables and the stench of death. But as you enter one such lecture room, you see that at the center, by a large round table, sit 6 people dressed in academic gowns. One of the figures at the table turns to you, and for a second you see only a skull. But then you blink, and an old man's face stares at you. "Hello there. I see you have come seeking answers, yes? How did you find us? We were cursed long ago, never to be found by a living soul, and I dare say you look alive." "Ah, so they are finally strong enough to try and regain their powers, and so they send you to seek answers." "In short, we were the ones who took the power of the Pantheon to ensure our colleagues could burn the cosmic tree without interference." It was not easy, nor done without the aid of powerful and evil magic, but it was done. Each god you see had their own duty, their domain, and it was both their strength and their weakness. By hitting them all at once, we also didn't give them a chance to aid each other as they normally would. Well, that's a funny story in itself, I suppose. We were tricked by the Human Advancement Department. We were presented with false data to suggest that the gods were about to destroy all life, that they'd grown arrogant and wanted to wipe Thea of humans to create a new, more obedient kind. Anyway, it was all a lie, and those who knew the real reason are no longer with us. Yeah, in hindsight, it all seems rather ridiculous, but you don't know how it is when you're in the zone. And it was a good theory in principle. I mean, there is no definite proof that the gods didn't plan our demise. Our plans were cosmically big, as it were, and so we needed help. Help that a few would be willing to give, and even less capable enough to provide. A mage arrived on our doorstep, offering all the right answers. Even after we figured he was the famed Dark Lord, banished ages ago in the Great War of the Eye in the Westerlands, we still couldn't say no. It was him or nothing. Oh, don't get me wrong. We knew we were working with evil, but the pursuit of knowledge, of understanding, the very notion we could defy the gods, it was glorious. I think the Dark Lord didn't even break a sweat convincing us. There were suspicions. Some gods even took notice, but the Dark One was clever and diverted their gaze every time, building a fake army in his old stronghold and sending out omens of his return worldwide. This was step one of our plan. This was how we would trap the supreme gods. Yes, like Perun and Mokosh in the Easterlands, every land in Thea had their own. They needed to be broken first, else their power would protect the others. Mokosh we could not lure away. She is wise and careful. But Perun, well, let's just say he was keen to go into battle. Very keen. Ah yes, Veles, who sat in the roots of the tree, guarding the gates to the afterlife. He would lose power from the cosmic tree's demise, but we needed him distracted more than most. But Veles is not only the master of the underworld. He is also the Lord of Magic, and some say he was of the elven kin first before he became god. We attacked the Western Islands, where the elves dwelt when they wished to leave the human realms. Veles ran to their aid, and so did many elven guardians. Oh no, of course not. Like with many others, we had to make a trap. In this case, we invented a device that would target all creatures of elven descent. Once we had all the greatest heroes in one place, we detonated the hellish thing, and it spread like wildfire. It would not kill any of them, you know. It was supposed to overload their magic, so that for a time they would be rendered unconscious. But you see, the device had a strong side effect. Only that afterwards, when the tree burned, the connection we made with the device, it spread a dark curse to all elven kin, killing millions. But what you need to know is that the device cannot be reversed as such, and yet there are rumors of an elven survivor who is the key to all this. Seek out the Oracle. She will guide you. Before I tell you, we must ask a favor. We have been cursed to stay here, neither alive nor dead, for eternity, as punishment for our actions. A sentence we accepted with grace and understanding. It is not often you get to destroy the world and nearly kill off gods. However, we wish to be freed now. Once champions of the gods like yourselves realized our crime, they came to seek retribution. But the Dark Lord wanted to be sure the world burns, and so he cloaked this place from any mortal eye. Without the gods' guidance, no one could find us and learn the truth. Then came a lone spirit, claiming to be an echo of the Pantheon. The spirit cursed our souls to eternal damnation for our arrogance, making us unliving and bound to this building till the end of days. There is a way to try and free our souls from these unliving bodies. With the underworld shut, we will still roam Thea, but at least we will be free. Yes, many of us share your enthusiasm for the punishment. We are tormented by our faults, believe me. But to be stuck like this forever. If you kill us, we will only suffer the pain of death, but eventually we will return, marked by another scar. But if you use your connection to the gods to break our curse, perhaps we can be released. The old man nods, his face twisted in a mixture of fear and sadness. I have imprinted the location you seek in your minds. You will find it whenever you seek it. You feel the knowledge of the place you seek enter your mind, and so you leave the university and its doomed fellows to their cursed fate. The academics simply nod and return to their table. You hear them debating the merits of your decision. As you abandon this place of knowledge, you feel a dose of approval from your deity, although within your hearts you know this was not exactly the route you should have taken.